Morning, Trainiacs. We're back in the Pain Cave from Ironman Kona 2019. As you can see, we got the new swim spa there. We got the new setup here. Give me a little while, and once we organize everything, we will have a full studio tour. But for now, we are having a consultation with Nick Bear, the big former bodybuilder, CrossFitter, power lifter, owner of Bear Performance Nutrition, the big dude that we've been training up for Ironman Florida at the beginning of November, and he's been documenting it on his YouTube channel that has hundreds of thousands of subscribers. He's a member of Team Trainiac, and I figured it'd be interesting to record the entire webinar that we're gonna have, well, essentially it's a phone call. He doesn't know that we're turning it into a webinar to talk through how people should plan an Ironman distance race. Their first Ironman distance race. We're gonna do that. You're looking skinny, like fit skinny.
I think this morning I was like 193 after my run. And I've started everything at like 220, 225.
Yeah. I've had some of the followers of like mutual followers have said you look better now, but it's mostly like the non-lifting guys.
Honestly, I've gotten that comment all over the place. Like, everyone's like, I prefer this training, this physique over just like strictly bodybuilding stuff. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's like old school Frank Zane.
It's interesting too because like, and I've talked about this in podcasts and videos. I've said like to reach this level of conditioning, like body fat wise, before I'd have to do like diets and I felt like, but now like I can consume really whatever I want. I'm just like burning through it. Like this morning I'm doing 26 miles today.
Yeah.
Doing 13 miles morning, 13 miles at night.
Yeah.
And like my 13 miler today, at like zone 2, I was just chilling. Towards the end, like my legs started getting tired because yesterday was an intense bike ride. Yeah. But like my endurance right now, like aerobic endurance, I was just chilling for 13 miles.
Yeah, like it just probably feels like you can go for forever, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's the point. Right on. This is what we've been building towards, so that those long runs are like, whatever, do this all day.
That's what I look forward to the long runs. It's like these are probably my favorite workouts of the entire week right now.
All right, okay, let's talk about the next couple of weeks. This is an important couple of weeks because training for, let's say like football or I don't know, like almost any other sport is like 95% preparation, 5% execution. Basically, who prepares better does better. Triathlon is a lot more like 50-50. Like you can do all the preparation in the world, and then if you go and screw it up on race day or in the 2 weeks leading up to it, doesn't matter what you did in the 6 months before.
Okay. So
the first thing I want, we can kind of go through it chronologically, basically starting from the taper. So as soon as the taper starts, I want you to kind of shift your mindset of what you want out of the workouts. And it's really simple. I just don't want you to finish any workout feeling tired.
Okay.
Easy as that. And even if I've got a workout written down that it's written in a certain way, if you get to a point and you're like, you know what, I'm halfway through this and it's feeling like I'm gonna end like I'm dragging my butt, just stop. Because there's nothing that you can do in the next 2 weeks that's gonna add to any of the fitness. Basically, what you end at before the taper, that's what you got. And by doing any more than what feels easy is really just gonna dig yourself a hole. The next 2 weeks is just about getting rid of the fatigue. So it's really about self-monitoring and getting through a workout, just feeling fresh, feeling like I could have done twice those intervals. As much sleep as you can get, as much sitting down and ideally lying down as you can get. So let's start with 2 days before race day. You're going to hear a lot and probably think a lot. You might have done like carb loading in previous efforts. Because you've done such a big amount of training, big days, those 6-hour days, and you've done it without huge amounts of carb loading, it's not like you've got to go and do carb loading all of a sudden just because it's race day. It's not going to change your race by having a stomach full of pasta. What you want to do though is make sure that your muscle and liver glycogen stores are topped up. So all that means is about 30% more carbs. So whatever your macros are around what your general intake of carbs are, somewhere around 30% more from good sources. Stuff that you have normally: bananas, berries, sweet potatoes, oatmeal, really complex carbs, like stuff that you would have back in bodybuilding days, that really long digesting carb.
Okay, like 30% increase per day about?
Yeah. So going from, for example, before Roth, I went from 130 grams per day to about 200. That was it.
Okay.
So it's like one extra little bit of carbs in meals throughout the day. So whatever you're having, about 30% more just in the 2 days before. And that's lots to have your muscle and liver glycogen topped up. Starting the morning of, there is a couple of things that you can do. Instead of just having a water in the morning, what I'd like your breakfast to be is 4 hours before the start of the race. That might mean that you wake up and then chill out and like have 30 minutes or 60 minutes to chill out, watch YouTube, get back to emails, just lie down. Or it's like perfect timing. I don't know how the logistics are and where you're staying, but 4 hours before the start of the race, like your start of the race, is when you want to have your meal. And because you're a salty sweater like me and it might be a little bit hotter, instead of water, have a glass of hyperhydrator if you can find something. You should be able to find it easily. Osmo has one, Precision Hydration has one, Scratch has one. It's a super concentrate of electrolytes, basically salt. It tastes like a really salty drink. And that's going to top up your electrolytes the day of, allow you to store the water a little bit better, as opposed to doing it in the days leading up when you might be throwing off your electrolyte balances and just peeing it out and dehydrating yourself for the days leading up. But if you have just one hyperhydrator, those have been shown to do really well. You might want to try it just before a workout to make sure it sits okay with your stomach, but it's pretty safe. Like, you know what it is. It's just electrolytes. It's not going to really change anything with you.
I haven't used, like, before Ironman training, I never really implemented electrolytes into my training. Since implementing electrolytes into like my training, it has dramatically increased my performance.
Really? It's wild,
Yeah.
hey? Yeah. When I saw those salt stains on your body, I'm like, this will be a game changer for you. Okay, so if you're having good results from that, I think that morning hyperhydrator will be really good for you. And it's not like you're having 10,000 milligrams of electrolytes. It's like, depending on which one you have, it's like 1,500 to 2,000, which is not an insane amount. A perfect breakfast, if you're wondering what to eat, but you kind of know what works with your body, is oatmeal mixed with UCAN super starch. UCAN super starch might be something to think about just adding to whatever your normal breakfast is. Like, I know you have the English muffins and jam or honey or something like that. Like that's good. If you even just forget about the oatmeal, have your normal breakfast and add UCAN super starch to it, that is a super slow digesting complex carb. Having that for your breakfast is going to make everything else just last a lot longer, because the entire day is about energy conservation and blood glucose management. It's not about how fast you can go. So the more we can do to stretch out your energy, the better you're going to be. In between breakfast and the race, mostly everything is done. Don't really have to top up on a whole lot. Most people feel like they need to do something with their hands, get a little bit fidgety. I like to just have one bottle of a light electrolyte drink. Not a lot of carbs, not really any sugar or calories in it, but just something to kind of keep that nervous energy at bay. The real nutrition for the race starts 30 minutes before the race. At 30 minutes before the race, don't stress if it's 35 or 20, like if you're in the porta potty or whatever and just you can't get it at 30 minutes, but somewhere around there is where you take your first serving of nutrition. So whatever you've been taking up to now, you have a full 90 to 130 calories from that. What are you taking?
Okay. I'm using Scratch.
Okay. So that's the drink. What are you taking for main calories?
So I'm using Scratch, which has electrolytes and calories. I'm using Goo, and then our protein bars that we have, that's mainly like nut butters, honey, protein powder. So it's like 25 grams of carbs and like 10 grams of fat per bar.
Okay, that's good. What I would take then before the race is one of the Goos.
Okay.
So I'd take one of those, and that's gonna start the quick energy. And even if you're fat adapted or you want to go low carb, you still on race day go carbs. So I know you haven't gone super low carb, but like you start riding the lightning of lots of carbs on race day. And
right.
it starts before the race, because again, energy management, you don't want to go into the swim depleted. The swim, take it easy, like crazy easy. A hard swim and a slow swim, the difference might be like 5 minutes. So going towards that slow swim is going to use almost no energy. And think of it like it's, the best line I've heard is, it's mandatory transportation to the actual start of the race. So the same effort you've got, like walking up to transition, rolling up there with your bike, that's kind of the effort that will do well with a swim. And maybe you'll be about 5 minutes slower, but you're going to be way faster at the end of the race. And that the whole goal to make you as fast as we can is to keep you going at a steady pace the entire time. And if you burn a ton of matches at the start of the race in the swim, you're not going to gain much time, but you're sure as hell going to lose it at the end of the race. When you get out of the swim, there's going to be a transition bag that Ironman will make you do. I don't think in that race they have you set up transition at your bike, but either way, if it's in a bag and you've got to pull your transition stuff out of a bag, or if you've got to set it up at your bike, take a hit of carbohydrates at that point, and probably Goo, because that's going to be the easiest to assimilate and not have a lot of stuff in your stomach when you're running through transition. So that's going to start you onto the bike topped up, because to that point you won't have had anything for an hour and 45 minutes. Just one Goo. If you take caffeine, by all means, ride the caffeine train during the race. It'll help you. Now the bike, I want you to break it into 3 parts. First hour being a fair bit under your zone 2 heart rate cap. So what's your heart rate that you're running your zone 2 stuff at?
For my run?
Yeah.
Or the bike? It's been like 130.
Okay. So the first hour of the bike, think somewhere along the lines of like 120, 115. There's going to be a lot of people that'll pass you. I promise you, you will pass them at the end of the bike if you take that easy.
Okay.
Everyone gets out of the swim and thinks all of a sudden, all right, now I'm going to gain a bunch of time. And like, it's such a long day. Think of it like 8 hours of warming up and then 3 hours of work. So when you get on the bike, you're still just warming up. So that first hour should be easy. Lots of people passing you. Let them pass. You're going to pass them later. The next hour after that, then bring your heart rate up around to your zone 2 cap. And it's steady, like not 60 minutes, okay, in the next 5 minutes I'm going to bring it up. Think like a 1 hour, just slow, gradual build up to that zone 2 cap around that 130. And then for the rest of the race, around like 0 to 5 minutes or 5 beats per minute from that zone 2 cap. So in that 125 to 130 range. The lower you can keep your heart rate, the better, because you're just going to be conserving all kinds of fuel, all kinds of energy. You'll be going entirely aerobic, maintaining your muscle integrity, and it should feel guilty that it feels that easy. And one way to control your breathing and your heart rate is just think on the bike, just deep belly breaths. If you start noticing that your heart rate is climbing, just long, slow, deep belly breaths. And you can keep the same pace you're doing, but that's just a good way to kind of get your brain out of the sort of the race mode. We don't want you to be in race mode. But those calm, kind of meditative belly breaths will keep that heart rate down. For nutrition, 1 bottle of Scratch, that's perfect per hour. If you start burping, if you start feeling like you've got an upset stomach, totally normal. I think the numbers are something like 96% of people have digestive issues in an Ironman just because it's so long, you have so much sugar, you are eating so much, and you don't have too much blood in your stomach. Your stomach's working at like 30% capacity. If you start feeling like you're burpy or you're having any digestive issues, have a bottle of water on your bike and switch from Scratch to water. And that'll change the osmolality in your stomach, make everything easier just to get through. And keep with that water until your stomach feels better.
Okay. I've been doing like 60 grams of carbs and 1,000 milligrams of sodium per hour on the bike. Is that about what I should shoot for? Or more carbs?
Like total nutrition or just the drink?
Just the drink.
That would be high, because what I had written down for you is 60 to 80 grams of carbs per hour total.
Okay.
So that's gonna be right around where you'd need to calculate your nutrition anyway, and that's gonna be a little bit tough to start fitting in everything else. So if you dilute that a little bit, dilute the carbs a little bit, and you might need to say crush some salt tabs in it if you've got salt tabs, so that you still get the electrolytes to that 1,000. That's going to make it easier then to take on some food. But 60 to 80 is about kind of the max. By taking less calories from your bottle, it allows you to take more from your food, your goos and your field bars. And then if you do end up with a crappy stomach and you stop taking that Scratch, you're still going to take your calories. So let's say your stomach gets crappy and the Scratch goes to nothing, and all of a sudden it's replaced with water. There's no calories here, but you can still keep your intake of calories high because you're still eating. So that's why we want to bring the calories down from the liquid, because the liquid ends up changing depending on how your stomach's doing. So then getting on to the run. Okay, let's say you pick a pace right now that you think you can do for forever, like an entire day. We're talking like a 50-mile run.
I'd say like a 9-minute per mile pace, probably.
Okay. That's good. We're on the same page. I had 9:15 down for you as a pace to target.
Okay.
And that's probably, is that slower than you were expecting to hear for a target pace?
No, I mean, this morning, for example, I ran very comfortable 7:47 pace.
Yep.
But that was obviously just a run. So I'd say like 9:15 would be ideal for my run.
Okay. To me, when I worked it out, I'm like, wow, that sounds really slow. But then I looked at the time in Florida last year. That would put you in the top 10% of all marathon times.
Okay.
Like there were only in 1,260 something athletes, only 65 went under 4 hours. So it might sound slow, but if you can clip off a 9:15 and do a 4:02 marathon, you're going to pass such a huge amount of people. But you've got to make sure that we hold back, and we've held back in the swim, hold back on the bike, and the plan for the run is to hold back basically the entire time until it gets hard. And then it's going to be hard, like really hard.
I know it's going to come. I know it.
Yeah.
I know it.
Yeah, so the breaking up the run, think of the first 10K, about 6.1 miles, as you are really going to have to hold yourself back because you're probably going to feel really good. And there's going to be, again, a lot of people passing you, just like on the beginning of the bike. I guarantee, this is where I 100% guarantee, if you can run your way through the entire marathon, you're going to pass them all. Maybe at 2 miles in. Like, people blow up so quickly on the run. But you got to hold yourself way back. This is where that 9:15 pace, even if it feels like you're not moving, you're sticking to that in the first 6 miles, 10K. The next 10K, run at your pace, see how it feels. And if it feels still easy, like kind of guilty easy, probably good. So don't pick it up, because that just means that you're going to be able to run the last 22K, the last half marathon, better. And it's going to be somewhere in that probably 25 to 33K into the race, around 15 to 18 miles into the race, that it's going to get hard, and expect it to get hard. But if we've done this right, you should be able to keep running at that pace, and you're going to pass hundreds of people, like literally hundreds, because it's going to be carnage on the side of the road. People are going to be crapping in the bushes, and you're just going to be clipping away. On the run, I don't know if you've got a nutrition plan in mind, but what tends to be pretty foolproof, because they have it at every single race, is a mixture of Coke, water, salt tabs. You can have something else if you've got something in mind, if you want to do the goos, or if you do want to change it up. Coke is a good way to do it because it's a known quantity. It's not some cheapo gel or cheapo electrolyte that they just got to sponsor the race. But Coke is the same everywhere in North America. So a really good mixture is basically as much Coke as you can take on until your stomach starts feeling a little sloshy, then water until you feel better, and salt tabs every 20 minutes. So
and they have the salt tabs at the stations?
They might, but it could be infrequent. But just about every Ironman race has base performance is what I'd recommend. They've got little sticks, kind of looks like a thing of lipstick, that you'd put in your back pocket, and you pop the top, lick your thumb, shake the salt onto your thumb, lick it off, And if you do that every 20 minutes, you've got more than enough sodium to get you through. And that mixture of Coke and water, it ends up being basically kind of the perfect amount of carbs, and you're just taking in whatever you can tolerate until your stomach says, no, I need a break, and then you're having water. So you end up getting your fluids, your electrolytes, your calories in a really easy to digest form. And it's better to take as liquidy a solution as you can on the run, because there's so much sloshing around that sometimes even goos are too solid for your stomach to digest. So that's the option that I like to recommend, but some people just don't like taking Coke, want to take their own thing. You can. I'd veer towards something that's as liquid as possible.
Okay.
So that's what I got. And go and smash it, man.
What about, do you wear when you do your run, do you wear a nutrition belt, like a race belt that has water bottles on it?
I don't at an Ironman, because they've got so many aid stations. They've got an aid station every mile typically. So I just don't like things flopping around on me. Yeah. And if I have to carry like a pound of water or 2 pounds of water, it negates that like 25 pounds that you've lost a little bit. Plus they've got water everywhere, like literally everywhere. You're never going to run out of water.
What about, should I carry goose with me on the run?
If goose is what you want, yeah. The thing about Coke is once you start Coke, you got to finish with Coke. It's not like you can have a Coke at mile 2 and then forget about it. You got to keep going, like you're pot committed to the Coke.
Okay. When I set up my bike the day before, like when do I put my water bottles on the bike that have my scratch in it?
You put all that on the morning of.
Okay.
Yeah, put all that on the morning of, because if you leave it there overnight, it might go funky and could barf. So prepare everything the night before, put it in the fridge, and they should give you a morning clothes bag. And what I do is like everything that I have to set up in the morning goes into my morning clothes bag. I have a bag of all my stuff to set up in the morning that I have to do something with in the morning. And I put that into the morning clothes bag. So when I get to transition the morning of, I take that bag out and everything that I've got to do something with is in there. So it's my goggles, it's my swim cap, it's my bike computer. Everything that I don't want to forget goes in that extra bag in the bag, because then just as I pull something out, I'm like, oh, I got to do something with this. I got to do something with this. I got to do something with this. And I don't forget anything.
I think that's all the questions I really had then.
You probably have a lot in the week leading up to it, but just text me with what you've got, because there will be a lot that come up, and as you start seeing stuff at the expo or hearing things. The biggest thing that I can impart is it's not a day of racing, it's a day of conserving energy. And everything that we've tried to set up here for you is all about conserving energy until things get tough. And what I don't want is for when things get tough, for you to be done. Like no muscle glycogen, no liver glycogen, muscles thrashed, completely broken down. I want you to get to the point where it's tough and then be tougher. But if you are screwed on the side of the road because you're so broken down, take the 11-hour time frame that you want to hit and add an hour, because you might be walking for a long time. Right. But if you can just chug along at really low efforts, and when things get tough, you're still sticking and hitting that 9-minute or 9:15 pace, it's totally within reach. It's just, can you be tough enough? And I know that you can.
Right. All right, well, I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. You won't be excited when it gets hard, but that's what we do this for.
Oh, yeah, I know exactly how that feels. Like, I know where my mind's going to be when it gets hard, and it's like, I know there's no avoiding it, like, at all, but It's just when is that going to hit?
Yeah. Yeah. They're like world champions, like guys that set all-time course records. They say the same thing. They're like, I know it's going to get hard and I know it's going to be awful. And like people that have raced the fastest Ironmans in history contemplate dropping out during the race. Every single one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why we do this. Because you see what you're made of in those last couple hours.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited. I appreciate it.
Yeah. No, I'm excited for this too. Call ended. So that is Nick Bear. I like him. He has been crushing it. This is going to be not just his first Ironman, but this is going to be his first triathlon, and he's been documenting the whole thing. Go and I recommend doing two things. Number one, follow his YouTube channel. I'm going to link to one of his videos right there about documenting his Ironman training and his change from being a big dude, a weightlifter, a power lifter, to now being like a ripped, shredded endurance athlete. You can find him at Instagram, Nick Bear Fitness, and go follow him on the Ironman tracker and give him mad props. This is going to be super cool. I've never had a Trainiac like document their progress so much. He's been training on teamtrainiac.com this whole time, so I feel invested. I also hope he does really well, because if he does really well, the world is going to know about it. All right, good luck, Nick. Later, Trainiac. The dogs are back. Miss these guys in Kona.